In some absolutely shocking news that no one could have seen coming, Chinese regulators have ordered domestic companies to immediately stop using cybersecurity software from over a dozen US and Israeli vendors in what marks a major escalation of the ongoing tech Cold War. Yeah, Beijing stated that their concern is all about national security. Officials are worried that foreign security tools could collect sensitive network data and transmit that data outside China. And that somewhat makes sense. I mean, yeah, security tools sit super deep inside organizations' tech stacks, and they see all sorts of things like network traffic, identities, endpoints, and oftentimes decrypted content as well. And that sort of visibility could make for some very powerful intel providers, which is precisely what makes nations so twitchy about letting foreign companies run them. Now, before everybody starts clutching their pearls over China's paranoia, let's all remember that the US banned Russian cybersecurity firm Kaspersky back in 2024 over the exact same concerns. And for Israel, well, when you've demonstrated the ability to turn supply chains into literal weapons, countries tend to get a little nervous about what else they might be up to. Now, the ban targets industry giants including Palo Alto Networks, Fortinet, CrowdStrike, and VMware, along with some other Israeli firms like Checkpoint and CyberArk. Yeah, so for global companies operating in China, this is a hell of a lot of operational chaos to deal with. Now you have parallel tooling, separate monitoring systems, and you'll ultimately get slower incident response when the same security controls can't run everywhere. Several affected firms like CrowdStrike basically said big whoop, noting that they really had minimal operations in China anyway. But yeah, this tit-for-tat game of tech nationalism shows no sign of slowing down anytime soon. All right, next story. You might have noticed that Verizon had a bit of a bad day yesterday. Yeah, they had their hands full dealing with a nationwide wireless outage that left millions of customers without calling, texting, or data services for more than 10 hours. Yeah, service was fully restored around 10:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, apparently the outage began a little around noon, quickly plunging phones into SOS mode across major cities in the United States. At its peak, Down Detector recorded a staggering 2.2 million reports of service loss in a 24-hour window. The disruption created a real public safety concern. New York and Washington, D.C. emergency departments advised their residents to use landlines or just go directly to the police and fire stations if they needed to reach 911. Do you know anyone that still has a landline? I mean, I don't. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself the same thing that I wanted to know. What's the root cause behind this outage? Well, Verizon hasn't really been as transparent as I hoped they'd be. They confirmed the incident was, okay, get this, caused by a software issue. Thanks? Yeah, that leaves very little to go by. Like, was it a patch? Was it DNS? Yeah, let's say it's DNS. It's always DNS, right? Basically, they're simply saying that, hey, they screwed up and it wasn't a cyber attack. So I guess that's good. Anyways, to appease the frustrated customers of Verizon, they're offering a $20 account credit to hundreds of thousands of affected users, redeemable only through their My Verizon app. So go claim your credit today before the next outage kills your phone again. All right, now I'm going to give you some good news for a change. Our last story today is all about how Microsoft's digital crime unit has dismantled RedVDS, a cybercrime subscription service that enabled roughly $40 million in fraud losses in the United States since just this last March alone. Okay, here's how the process worked. So for as little as $24 a month, criminals could rent disposable servers enabled to run phishing, business email compromise, and payment fraud at scale. Think of it as like cheap anonymous infrastructure that made cybercrime available and accessible to anybody. Now, the folks over at RedVDS were some bad dudes, and they've done some serious damage. They've enabled attacks that compromised over 190,000 email accounts across 130,000 organizations worldwide. In fact, one Alabama pharmaceutical company reported losing over $7 million in a single diverted payment to one of their servers. That same operation leveraged all sorts of crazy stuff like AI deepfakes to clone voices and create realistic video lures that tricked employees into authorizing these fraudulent wire transfers. Anyways, Microsoft worked with the courts in the US and the UK, plus Europol and German authorities to seize the infrastructure and take down the marketplace. So chalk one up for the good guys, right? Well, that wraps up today's stories. This is Andy Thompson signing off.